There is a program running inside your brain right now. You didn't install it. You didn't choose it. You have never once opened a settings menu to adjust it, and yet it has been running continuously, every hour of every day, since the moment you were born. It shapes what you fear. It shapes what you crave. It shapes who you trust, who you avoid, and what keeps you awake at 3 in the morning when nothing is visibly wrong. It was written long before you existed, long before your parents existed, long before anyone alive today could remember. And it was written for a world that is almost completely gone. Most of the time, this program runs silently in the background. You don't notice it. You just live inside its outputs. You call them instincts. You call them gut feelings. Sometimes you call them anxiety, or intuition, or just the way you are. But they are not simply the way you are. They are the way your species survived. And understanding the difference changes something fundamental about the way you see yourself. Let's start with the program itself. What is it exactly? It is not one thing. It is a collection of deeply embedded behavioral systems that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in response to the most consistent threats your ancestors faced. Each one was written in the same language: survival. The first module is the threat scanner. It runs constantly, below awareness, beneath thought, processing every piece of incoming sensory information for anything that resembles patterns previously associated with danger. A sound that's slightly wrong, a face with an expression that doesn't match the words, a silence in a place that is usually not silent, a feeling in your body that something has shifted. The threat scanner does not wait for your conscious mind to catch up. It processes and responds before you are aware it has done either. This is why your heart can be racing before you have identified why. Why you can be halfway across a room before you consciously registered that you moved. Why you can feel uneasy in a situation that looks completely fine. The scanner fired. The response was already running, and your conscious mind arrived late to a scene that had already begun. Now here is the part that makes this more than just neuroscience. The threat scanner was not written for the world you live in. It was written for a world where the dangerous things were immediate, visible, and physical. A predator in the grass, a rival from another group, a sound in the dark that shouldn't be there. But the scanner doesn't know that world is gone. It is still running the same pattern-matching algorithm, still flagging the same categories of input, still generating the same physical alarm response. Only now, the patterns it matches are different. The rival from another group has become a colleague whose tone felt slightly off in a meeting. The predator in the grass has become a notification you haven't opened yet. The sound in the dark has become an unanswered question about the future. Same program, different inputs, same intensity of response. And that mismatch between the sensitivity of the scanner and the actual level of danger in your environment is responsible for more of your daily experience than most people ever realize. But the threat scanner is only the first module. There is a second one, and this one shapes your behavior in ways that are even harder to see clearly. Because it doesn't feel like a survival program. It feels like caring what people think. In the ancient world, your social standing was not a matter of comfort or pride. It was a matter of survival. Your place within the group determined your access to food, to protection, to allies, to mates, to the resources that kept you alive through every season and every crisis. Being valued by the group was survival. Being cast out was often death. And so your brain evolved a social monitoring system of extraordinary sensitivity. It tracks how people respond to you. It notices tiny shifts in tone, expression, and attention. It registers when you are included and when you are not. It generates an alarm when it detects any signal that your standing within the group may be at risk. That alarm is what you feel when someone doesn't reply to your message for longer than expected. When you sense a shift in the energy of a room when you enter it, when a comment lands in a way that makes you wonder what it really meant, when you replay a conversation hours later, searching for the moment something might have shifted, you are not being oversensitive. The social monitoring module is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is protecting your place in the tribe. The tribe just looks different now, and the stakes, while they feel exactly as high to your nervous system, are almost never what they once were. Hold that thought. Because there is a third module, and this one is the strangest of the three, because it doesn't feel like a survival program either. It feels like imagination. Deep inside your brain, there is a system that never stops running simulations. It models what might happen next. It replays what already happened. It rehearses conversations before they occur and autopsies them after they end. It generates scenarios of things that have never happened and may never happen, and it presents them to you with enough emotional fidelity that your body responds to them as though they are real. We call the output of this system worry. We call it rumination. We call it overthinking. But the system itself is not a malfunction. It is your brain's most sophisticated survival tool. In the ancient world, the ability to mentally simulate future scenarios, to imagine a hunt before it happened, to model how a rival group might respond, to rehearse a difficult negotiation before entering it, was an extraordinary advantage. A brain that could run these simulations was a brain that could prepare, and preparation in that world was the difference between surviving and not. The simulation module kept your ancestors alive by generating threats in the mind before those threats arrived in reality, and it is still generating them in your mind. About your job, your relationships, your health, your future, your worth. Not because any of those things are currently threatening your life, but because the module doesn't have a filter for that. It was never designed to distinguish between threats that are existential and threats that are merely uncomfortable. It was designed to flag, simulate, and prepare, and it does, relentlessly. Now here is the question worth pausing on. If these three modules, the threat scanner, the social monitor, and the simulation engine, are all running simultaneously, all generating alerts, all producing emotional responses in your body, how do you ever feel calm? The honest answer is that calm, for a human being, has always been conditional, not the absence of the program, but the absence of triggers. A moment when the scanner finds nothing, when the social monitor registers safety, when the simulation engine, finding no unresolved threats to rehearse, quiets enough that you can be present in the moment you are actually in. Those moments exist, but they require something the modern world makes increasingly difficult to provide. A nervous system that believes, genuinely, in the body and not just in the mind, that it is safe. And here's the detail that most people miss when they try to create that feeling. You cannot think your way into feeling safe, not sustainably. Not when the program running beneath your thoughts is older and faster and more authoritative than any conscious reassurance you can generate. The ancient program speaks in sensation, in the language of the body, in the signals that move through your nervous system before a single word forms in your mind. And the only thing that can speak back to it in a language it recognizes is the body itself. Slow breathing reaches the vagus nerve before your thoughts do. Physical movement metabolizes the stress hormones the program generates. Human touch activates the oxytocin system, which is one of the most direct signals the ancient social brain receives that the tribe is close and safety is present. These are not coping mechanisms. They are communications, direct messages to a program that doesn't read words, telling it, in the only language it has ever understood, that the threat has passed, that the tribe is here, that you made it through. Here is what I find most striking about all of this. The program was not written carelessly. Every module, every response, every alarm it has ever generated was tested against the most brutal possible standard, actual survival. The threat scanner was refined across thousands of generations of human beings who faced real danger. The social monitor was calibrated in environments where rejection genuinely ended lives. The simulation engine was sharpened in conditions where imagining the wrong outcome wasn't a source of anxiety, but a source of preparation that meant the difference between living and not. This is not a flawed program. This is one of the most thoroughly tested pieces of biological engineering in the history of life on Earth. It just wasn't written for this. Not for this world. Not for this pace. Not for the scale and complexity and relentlessness of modern life. And maybe that is the most important thing to hold. When the scanner fires on something that isn't dangerous. When the social monitor sounds an alarm over something that won't cost you your place in the tribe. When the simulation engine rehearses a catastrophe that will never arrive. You are not experiencing weakness. You are experiencing the inevitable friction between an ancient program and a world it was never designed to run in. The program is not broken. The environment changed. And the program, extraordinary and exhausting and relentless as it is, never got the update. So it does what it has always done, what it was built to do, what kept every human being in your unbroken lineage alive long enough to pass it forward to you. It scans, it monitors, it simulates, it runs, quietly, constantly, without asking your permission, and somewhere beneath every thought you have ever had, beneath every feeling you have ever tried to explain, it is still there, still running. The oldest software your species ever wrote, still doing the only job it was ever given, making sure you survive.